Finish a sentence for me. If only I had more money, I could ... How would you answer that, right? Go on vacation, pay off debt, be financially stable, handle the unexpected expenses, buy the things you really want, etc. There are so many things that you could put there, right? Well, this belief, it can be very dangerous. It can lead to many negative thoughts and cause you to become angry, unhappy, stressed, overwhelmed, and the list goes on, right? Because you are thinking thoughts that are not life-giving, but rather life-taking. That is why in today's episode, I want to help bring to light 3 of the biggest reasons you believe more money is the answer to your problems and what you can do to let go of that belief. So go get your drink, open your heart to God, and let's dive in. If you're ready to build wealth, ensure financial security, stop overspending, and finally create a budget you can stick to, you mama are in the right place. Hi, I'm Molly, a budget coach and financial strategist who went from living paycheck to paycheck to paying off debt, saving money, and going on vacation, all by budgeting. And I help mamas just like you budget and create God-centered systems and routines so that you too can have financial freedom. Now stop pinching those pennies and let's dive in. Well, baby is just around the corner, meaning that this is the last week you can grab a budget coaching session before baby is here, because I am going to be taking a break while I adjust to having the baby here, right? So if you are struggling with your money, it overwhelms you and you just don't know where to start, I want to invite you to grab a single one-on-one coaching session with me where we will start the process of organizing your money by creating a game plan of the steps you need to take to create a stable, predictable income. Sometimes jumping straight into reworking your budget can cause more overwhelm. So let me help you relieve some of that stress by helping you see what you are already doing, identify what you want to do, and creating a plan to get you from where you are to where you want to be. If you are ready to release the stress and overwhelm and know what your next step is in organizing your money and creating that financial stability that you are looking for, then send me an email at mollyburnell@gmail.com saying budget coaching, and let's organize your money so that you can create stable, recurring income. Again, the email is mollyburnell@gmail.com, so that's MOLLY, B as in boy, ENELL @gmail.com. So I want to start this episode by answering the question that I asked you in the beginning of this episode, and then walk you through my thought process and how I think about what could happen if I actually reached my goal of having more money so that I could do the thing that I wanted most, right? The thing that I desire the most with my money. And so if I had more money, what I could do is I could get my time back and spend that time with my family. I would hire people to do things instead of doing it myself, even though I'm more than capable of doing it, right? However, this is the part where my brain starts to think, like, what would actually happen, right? Without learning how to manage my money properly, I could very easily end up spending all of my money hiring someone else to do all of the things that I don't want to do and still have no time for my family. I would end up filling the time that I got back, with more things that I didn't want to do, and I have spent all of my money hiring out already, so I couldn't hire out the things that I again don't want to do. So the reason this is happening is because of the habits that I have already created. Now, it doesn't matter if your goal is different than mine, as in you want to pay off debt or you want to, go on that vacation. If you have habits in place that are already there that are going to not serve you, but rather take from you, then all you're going to do when you finally do pay off that debt is you're going to get back into debt. And so what you have to do before you can get more money is you have to learn how to break the habit so that when you do get more money, it doesn't turn into lifestyle creep. It doesn't go back into the thing that you desired most to get rid of in the first place to solve the problem with having more money. It just became a bigger problem. So, with that being said, let's jump into the 3 reasons behind the feeling of needing more money and why that isn't always the solution, right? So the first thing is discontentment, right? So never being satisfied with what you have. This can be so easy to fall into when you feel like you have no money and you want more money. You just are discontent with everything, I feel like. That's definitely my husband. I'm the saver, I'm not the spender. So going out and buying all this stuff and feeling like I have no money to spend on the things that I want to do isn't really that much of a problem for me. But my husband, on the other hand, just sits in this box of misery, I feel like, and is just like, oh my gosh, I want to do all this stuff, but we don't have the money. I have nothing to show for my money. I make this money and it just goes down the drain, and I don't know what happens when, in all reality, that's not the case for us, especially since we have the budget in place. It's just a matter of what he wants to spend his money on and what we end up having to spend our money on are 2 totally different things, right? Because we have a house that is old and needs a lot of work. The property we live on needs a lot of work. So the money generally gets put into fixing up the property versus going out and buying that new pickup that he really wants, right? But he still sits in that discontentment, right? And he's never satisfied with what he has. And so what this does when you are discontent is it causes you to make choices that aren't exactly the best choices to make, right? Because you're like, well, I have this money, but I can't go spend it. But instead, you're like, some days you just give up and say, I don't care, I want to spend it anyways. And you spend the money, right? And then you put yourself in a hard position, and that's not a place where we want you to be. So what you need to do, right? The first thing you need to do is work on being grateful for the things that you have, right? Start making, a journal or doing something where you make a list of the things that you buy with your money so that when you start feeling this way, you can look back on it and be grateful for the things that your money has bought you. Now, it may not be the best, most expensive thing. It may not be the prettiest thing in the world. It may not be the exact thing that you want, but you still have it. It's making your life easier. It's making your life feel more fulfilled because you have the thing, even if you still feel discontentment around it. You got to think about things on the flip side. Instead of the, oh, I don't have this, poor me attitude. Instead, we got to flip that script and start thinking instead, I'm so grateful that I have this. This is helping my life by doing this. This is helping my life by doing this. This is bringing me joy, even though I'm not a big fan of the thing that I bought, right? That is something that we have to work on, is flipping the script from being discontent to being joyful and grateful for the things that we have because they are still doing wonders in our lives. So then what can you do with your budget, right? So how can you make your budget help you flip the script? This is a little bit hard. That when I was trying to figure this out, I'm like, how do I do this? And then, oh yeah, God helped me figure it out. So a budget, when you set up a budget, a way to help you battle that discontentment is A budget then keeps you from spending the money you need somewhere else. So that action that I told you, where sometimes you just give in and buy the thing anyways, and it puts you in a hard position, when you have your budget set up, it's going to help keep you from spending that money that's going to put you in a hard spot, because you are going to know if you should or shouldn't spend that money and what spending that money is going to affect, right? A budget also gives you the ability to see all of your money so that you can plan, create, and bring your goals to life instead of sitting in that discontentment. So if getting a new pickup is something you want, then maybe you should sit down and look at what it is that you can do and change your mindset from, I can't do this, I'm not ever able to buy the thing that I really want, into, okay, I can get this. It's just going to take time. It's going to work on my patience. And I have a game plan of how I'm going to do it and the steps that I'm going to take to get there. It's just not going to happen today. It's going to happen maybe a few years down the road, right? And that is okay. That is something that we have to work on. And that is something that is so good for you. But something that in the world we live in today, especially in the United States, where you can snap your fingers and get the thing that you want with like pressing the easy button, right? It's not something that comes easy to us. So waiting is so hard, but it is so good for you. And it feels so much better when you actually get the thing. Okay. So the second reason behind why you feel like you need more money is comparison. And comparison can also equal like the fear of missing out, right? Because when you're comparing yourself to somebody else, you're like, oh, well, they have this thing. Why can't I? Why are they able to get this thing when they make less money? Or, you know, your brain can go down that rabbit trail of all this speculation that you think they're able to do this and you're not, but you don't know their financial situation. So get out of their finances, focus on your own finances, and stop worrying about what, you know, Bob is doing down the road instead of just focusing on the things that you want to do with your money. Who cares what they're doing with their money? Focus on what you want to do and how you can get there, right? That is a big thing. When you are focused on comparison and the fear of missing out and getting that next trend because, you know, that's the next biggest and best thing, you're not focusing on what truly brings you joy, but rather trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? You're trying to keep up with the trends. You're trying to stay in the world and always changing and doing all this stuff. And it's not stuff that actually brings you joy. Instead, it wears on you and it stresses you out because you're looking at Instagram, you're looking at Facebook, you're looking at TikTok and all the other socials out there. I'm not on very many socials, so I can't name them all. But you know, when you are looking at that stuff and you're only seeing the highlight reel, you're not seeing what's actually happening underneath. You don't know if they had to go into debt to do that thing. You don't know what other thing that they decided not to do in order to do the thing because that was more of a priority, right? Your priorities are not the same thing. So your actions, when you try to keep up with everybody and everything that's constantly changing in the world, are going to bring you stress and overwhelm rather than joy and peace that you are looking for, right? So work on not looking to others to find your joy, because that's essentially what you're doing. To find approval for the things that you are buying. Because sometimes we're like, oh, we bought this thing, let's go show so-and-so because we're so excited for it. And then you show it to them and they get this look on their face and they're like, that you bought that? Like, really? That's not that cool. Your balloon that was so inflated with joy and excitement over the thing that you bought is now going to be completely deflated, right? So don't go looking for approval of the things that you buy from other people. Look to it for yourself. Be excited about the thing that you bought, regardless of what other people say, right? Trends, they come, they go, they're constantly changing. And if you're trying to keep up with them, you're just going to be spending money out the wazoo because it's not going to happen. You're going to have a house full of junk that you don't actually want, and it's going to be money that you just threw down the drain because you bought the thing that you thought you needed, but you actually didn't, right? Because once you got it, you're like, oh, I don't like this. Okay, it's going to go in the closet and never be used. So don't worry about trends. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Sit down, focus on your priorities, figure out what is important to you, and create a life around the things that you want to do, and let your money buy the things that you want to do in your life. That is where your joy is going to come from. Okay, so what can you do with your budget to help combat the feeling of comparison, of missing out, of needing to get those trends? Right now, you can't change the mindset with the budget, but what you can do is put up boundaries. The budget is then going to keep you from spending money that you need somewhere else. And I know I've already talked about this, but that is just like the recurring thing when it comes to mindset, is those boundaries are going to hold you accountable and keep you from spending money that you need elsewhere, right? But on the flip side, it's also going to allow you the freedom to spend money where it's needed, including things that you truly enjoy. So even if you do want to indulge every now and again in something that is a trend, you can, because you are going to have boundaries in place and special locations or categories in your budget that allow you to spend money on those things. As long as you don't overindulge, you are fine, right? So you can still get those things. Just make sure that you're buying it because you actually want it versus because you're trying to keep up with somebody else. You're trying to buy the thing because they say you should, instead of it being something that's actually going to bring you joy. All right, so the third and last, well, not last as in, completely last, because I'm sure there are many more that we can talk about, but the last one for this episode, the last reason that I'm going to talk about why you feel like you need more money is fear. Fear, worry, anxiety over something that could happen. You're just living in the future, constantly overthinking and trying to figure out how to prevent the thing that probably is never actually going to happen, but you still want it there anyways, right? You would like that cushion. So how does this affect your actions? Well, it prevents you from buying things that you actually want to buy, right? And instead you go and try to buy things that you think are going to prevent this fear from happening, or you go and not spend your money at all and completely save it, never using your money at all, and just feeling like you have no money because you're constantly saving every single penny. Now, fear, it's a natural reflex, right? It is something that God has put in us to keep us safe. When things like a bear or a train are coming at us, it gets you out of the way of danger, right? So instead of being upset with your fear, instead of living in your fear, talk to it. I saw this in a movie and I absolutely love it. Like I forget about it sometimes, but when I'm in my logical part of my brain where I can actually think and remember things, I definitely revert to this. And so I figured it would be a great tool to bring to you. And what it is you take a minute to look at what you're fearful of, right? You ask fear, why am I so scared? Why am I worrying? Why am I anxious? What is going on inside of me? And you figure out what that thing is. Then you ask yourself if you are in danger or if you're safe. If you're in danger, then you need to take action and get out of that situation, right? But if you're safe, then you need to just say, fear, thank you for keeping me safe. This is not something I need to be fearful of, and just do the thing anyways, right? Let it go. Go and take action on whatever it is that you're scared of if it's safe, right? And that is been something that's helped me through a lot of things. So another thing that you can do is you can ask yourself, and this is essentially the same thing, but put in a different way, is ask yourself if what you're feeling is truth. are you actually in danger? Is it the truth? Or is it something that may never happen, or is a false belief, or is something that you're just creating a scenario inside of your head because you're just constantly overthinking and overthinking and overthinking, and so the thought is just exploding and blowing up inside your brain, getting worse and worse and worse? I'm right there. I do that all the time. You are not alone. But ask yourself, is this the truth? If it is, then definitely take action to get out of that situation. But if it's not, because 90% of the time it's not, it's just us overthinking and living in the future about things that we think are going to happen that, like I said, 90% of the time are not actually going to happen, then take a moment, take that fear to God, find a truth in the Bible in relation to that fear, and start just overthinking on that Bible verse. Change your mindset, change your thought patterns by going to God's truth, which is the Word, it's the Bible, and meditating on it and just running it through your brain, overthinking and overthinking on what is good, what is pure, what is holy, what is true. I wish I knew that Bible verse off the top of my head, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about by now because I've talked about that Bible verse a lot. But that is the way that you are going to be able to let go of that fear, let go of that worry and that anxiety, and start living in today instead of in the fear and worry and anxiety of tomorrow. So what can your budget do to help you here, right? A budget is going to give you the ability to save for your future problems. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to constantly sit there and overthink on the negative things that are going to bring you constant worry, stress, and overwhelm, right? But that doesn't mean that you don't need to be ready and prepared for some of the things that might come up. That is a logical thing. That is a biblical thing, because God actually tells you to store up your oil and your choice wine. Again, I need these Bible verses. If I would have thought about this when I was preparing the episode, I would have had them written down. But I didn't. This is God speaking through me. So these are the things that God tells us to do, is to store up things for the future so that when there's a hardship, you have it and you're prepared for it. I think he specifically was talking about, at least in that time, like wintertime, right? You got to prepare in the spring, summer, fall months so that come wintertime, when nothing can be produced, you are able to still eat and take care of your family. Well, it's the same situation here. There are going to be future problems. That is inevitable. There's going to be things in life that you need to be prepared for. Now, knowing exactly what those things are, don't worry about that. Don't try to think about what life is going to bring you, because you're not going to actually figure it out, and you're not actually going to probably have that situation or scenario. It's probably going to be something totally different. So still saving up for those future problems is going to help put you in a better position, because you're going to be more prepared versus scrambling around trying to figure out how to handle it in the moment, right? Okay, so to recap, the 3 areas as to why we feel like we need more money are generally related to discontentment, so never being satisfied with what you have, comparison, the fear of missing out, and worry, fear, anxiety over something that could happen. And then we talked about, what it is you can do to combat the mental side of things, and then what your budget does to actually help, like the actual physical, tactical things that you can do. You need to work on both, right? And don't try to work on all 3 of these at the same time. So I suggest picking one area that you feel is the most crushing in the moment on you, like what is the thing that your brain's constantly going towards, and start working on those. Take the advice and the pieces that I suggested to do to help you combat the mental side of things, and set your budget up to help you prevent and have boundaries in place so that you know that you are able to make it through without the fear, the stress, without the overwhelm that can come with all 3 of these feelings, right? Okay, so Again, if this is something that you are struggling with, I would love to help you. I'd love to connect with you, to walk you through what your budget can do to help you get out of these things. Like I've kind of touched on them a little bit in this episode, but I also want to help you break those habits, right? I want to help you with your mindset, because that is what true coaching is about, is to help you break through the things that you are doing and into a new season. And that is what I would love to do with you. So if this is something that you are struggling with, as I know that everybody is, because when it comes to finances, there's always something mental that we could have a little help with, right? I am right there with you. I've talked about it already in this episode. Then I want you to send me an email saying budget coaching so that we can start organizing your money and give you the ability to stop thinking about, what it is that you need to do to stay on budget, so that you can start looking at the things that are truly keeping you from staying on budget, which is your mindset, right? You can have a great system in place, but if your mindset is wonky and overthinking on things that aren't life-giving, then you're not going to actually be able to follow that budget. So definitely reach out to me, send me an email saying budget coaching to mollybennell@gmail.com. So that's MOLLY, B as in boy, ENELL @gmail.com. And I pray you have a great rest of your week. Hey mama, I pray that today's episode has inspired you and grew you. If so, will you please share it with that friend who is praying for a budget breakthrough, and leave a rating and review so that you can help get the podcast out to other mamas struggling with their budget. Also, get some support for yourself by joining my free Facebook group and becoming an insider, where you get weekly support emails and are the first to find out when something new is on its way. You can find the links in the show notes, and I will see you right back here next Tuesday.